Pokemon Let's Go is but a few days away at the time of this upload, and I'm super excited for it. I know some people are equally as excited but don't know all of the details yet, and then of course there's those of you who are on the fence that aren't quite sure what the game has to offer you specifically. Let's get into those details, and to be clear, I'm only going to get into information that is readily available officially. No spoiler talk in this video. In Pokemon Let's Go, you don't control Red, Green, Leaf, a weird approximation of Ash, or anything like that. You begin your journey and play as a brand new boy or girl who, if you so choose, can be both used in an assistive cooperative mode called support play by shaking a second Joy-Con, which, by the way, is the only controller that can be used in this game other than the Pokeball Plus accessory. Doing so will make the game a lot easier for those that need it by making Pokemon easier to catch, as well as affording more experience. Honestly, I can't see myself utilizing this feature outside of maybe with streams with Logan every Wednesday at 4 PM Eastern Time. Ring the bell to be notified, but it's a nice option for those that may need help or would just enjoy the shared experience with a friend or family member. Regardless of whether or not you opt to do that or not though, you'll be accompanied by a rival. However, just like the player character is a new person, so is your rival. Historically, most OG Pokemon fans associate their rival with being a jerk and in some cases a straight up criminal, but as time went on, Game Freak has moved away from that, and that trend has continued here. Some people are bummed out by this. In fairness, upon revisiting Pokemon Yellow this past week, your rival in that game isn't actually all that mean. I was surprised to see that on multiple occasions he gives you useful information. His only real mean trait, I guess you can say, is that he ends every interaction by shouting out, "Smell ya!" And the tradition of him receiving Eevee remains intact if you do the right thing in the eyes of our Pokemon forefathers and pick up Let's Go Pikachu. But he'll get a Pikachu if you choose Let's Go Eevee, neither of whom can evolve, completely gutting Eevee's usefulness. Don't at me. Another tradition that remains intact is your relationship with Professor Oak. He still is there to provide you with your partner Pokemon, and strangely, in my opinion, is his completely unchanged request for you to complete the Pokedex. I would have thought Red, Blue, and Green gave him all of the information he needed, but I digress. As I mentioned, Professor Oak gives you either Pikachu or Eevee depending on if you get Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu or Pokemon Let's Go Eevee, respectively. These Pokemon will always travel outside of their Pokeball in an homage to Pokemon Yellow with Pikachu hanging out on your shoulder, while Eevee is opting to be on the head of your player. These two Pokemon aren't typical to their species either. In fact, they're a key component to this game's value proposition in more ways than one, with the most obvious being how customizable they are aesthetically. You can purchase and mix and match outfits for your trainer and partner Pokemon in-game. You can also give your Pokemon haircuts. Notice I said can and not should. In other words, you can do that, but you should feel like an awful human being if you make that poorly advised decision. Beyond this, you can feed and bond with your partner Pokemon to raise their friendliness and, as a result, their stats. The level to which your partner likes you also allows you to learn special attacks. Both partner Pokemon learn new attacks that are both existing attacks that aren't currently in their movesets, like Double Kick, in an attempt to make them more viable against gym leaders that they would previously struggle against, like Brock, but it doesn't end there. Pikachu and Eevee also can be taught moves that are specific to them and all seem to mostly feature unique typing that isn't currently covered in their movesets. So far, the moves that we officially know of, starting with Pikachu, are Splishy Splash, a water type damage dealing attack with a chance to paralyze, and Pika Pow Pow, an attack with a currently unknown typing that is similar to Return in functionality. Eevee has a few more confirmed attacks, namely VV Volley, which is another move that is similar to Return, Bouncy Bubble, a water type damage dealing attack that heals Eevee's HP by half of the damage dealt to the opponent, BUZZY, an electric type damage dealing move with the chance to paralyze, and SIZZLY Slide, a fire type attack with 90 base power and a chance to burn. And these moves can all be taught for a fee as you grow your bond with your partner Pokemon. Keep in mind that more info is available on these moves through those leaks that I mentioned at the top of the video, but like I said, I'm only going through officially announced information. Apart from these special moves, Pikachu and Eevee also learn techniques that replace the use of HMs. like the homages to Pokemon Yellow being Balloon and Surfing Pikachu. These Pokemon will be a part of the team that will help you to accomplish the Pokemon League challenge, and by nature of that being a team, there's naturally other Pokemon that can be caught or acquired by other means like gifting and trading. The available Pokemon up for grabs will be the original 151, their Mega Evolutions, and 2 new Pokemon, Meltan and Melmetal, Pokemon that are made available through a connection with Pokemon Go. The first time you send Pokemon to Pokemon Let's Go from Pokemon Go will give you candies and access to a mystery box that when opened will cause Meltan to appear. After being used, this mystery box will then close and can only be reopened after a set amount of time and having another Pokemon to transfer from Pokemon Go into Pokemon Let's Go. These Pokemon can come from anybody's Pokemon Go account, as there's no limit to the amount of Pokemon Go accounts you can link to Pokemon Let's Go. Transfers are done through what is called the Go Park Complex. This park is replacing Fuchsia City Safari Zone and will function much in the same way the PAL Park has in the past. You can transfer up to 50 Pokemon each to one of the 50 individual parks. Once Pokemon are in Go Park, they can be found and recaptured for use in Pokemon Let's Go. Additionally, once there are at least 25 of a particular species in Go Park, you can participate in a mini game to farm candies for that Pokemon. This is the best way to obtain Melmetal, as the only way to evolve Meltan into Melmetal is to collect 400 candies for that evolution line. After this is done, Melmetal can join your team, giving you access to its signature move, Double Iron Bash. Much like Pokemon Heart Gold, you can have another Pokemon on your team follow you as you venture throughout the world. And some Pokemon can be ridden to make traversal in the overworld faster, a feature that many Pokemon fans, such as myself, have wanted to become a staple of the franchise for a long time now. It makes the world feel that much more realized. And while I'm here, I'll touch on an additional difference between Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. There will also be version exclusive Pokemon, as is the norm for this series. Let's Go Pikachu's exclusives are Oddish, Sandshrew, and Growlithe. Let's Go Eevee's are Bellsprout, Vulpix, and Meowth. Let's Go also changes how these Pokemon are caught, if you couldn't already tell by the steps needed to obtain and evolve Meltan into Melmetal. In traditional Pokemon, the name of the game is to encounter randomly generated Pokemon that you then battle to the point of being weak enough that you can throw a Pokeball and successfully catch them. They ask the random encounters in favor of Pokemon that are populated in the overworld, a welcome change by many. The divisive change though is their choice to also ask the battling from that wild encounter equation. Instead, Let's Go opts to adopt the Pokemon Go mechanic of aiming and throwing Pokeballs to catch Pokemon. This is done with either a single Joy-Con or a Pokeball plus accessories motion controls, or optionally with the Switch in handheld mode, you can use the A button to throw Pokeballs. Much like the traditional Pokemon games, these Pokemon become increasingly more difficult to catch as their levels increase or their catch rate decreases. In this game, the way to make the catch happen is to use various berries to raise their catch rate or slow down their movement to make them easier to anticipate and aim at. This changes a little bit when attempting to catch legendary Pokemon, as you will be required to battle them before being able to attempt to catch them. After catching a Pokemon, the goal is to train them to become stronger. In the older games, the only way to do this was to battle trainers and wild Pokemon. Although, in all honesty, battling mainly trainers has been more than enough to get me through my playthrough of Pokemon Yellow. Even back in the Gen 1 days, I used repels as much as humanly possible. Something that was introduced in Gen 6 and has since become a lot more important is the ability to gain experience from catching wild Pokemon. In Pokemon Go, and by virtue Let's Go, these catches will also net you candies that will allow you to boost your Pokemon stats. Unlike Pokemon Go though, candies will not be required to evolve Pokemon other than Meltan. Pokemon will still evolve under their current prerequisites. That said, candies do in effect replace EV or effort value training, a mechanic that allows you to fine-tune your Pokemon stats to make them suitable for certain movesets and therefore strategies. A move that honestly doesn't move the needle in either way for me. EV training has always been tedious. At least for the people that enjoy the catching mechanics of Go, that grind will feel less like a clicker game. IVs in nature though are largely unchanged, with the exception of one major change that actually in my opinion is a positive one, being that you can pay in-game Pokédollars to ensure that every Pokemon you encounter for a certain amount of time has the nature you choose. Sad news for many though, breeding is out, so you won't be able to manipulate IVs as easily as before, as far as we know currently. That said, trainer battles are largely still intact, with the major exception being the removal of hold items, which admittedly does limit the amount of strategies that can be used, so I can understand disappointment on this front. There will still be mega evolutions though, so it's not completely reverted to the Gen 1 meta in that sense. And while we're on the topic of main game trainer battles, gyms are also returning and will have set requirements to enter, like getting your Pokemon to a required level before being able to challenge them. Players will be able to battle trainers and gym leaders multiple times in rematches though, and in the post-game battle against trainers that specialize in the original 151 Pokemon. These battles will task you with defeating them in mirror battles to determine who's the better strategist when using a particular Pokemon. Defeating them will afford you the title of Master Trainer for the corresponding Pokemon, which will be something that people in the world, Nurse Joy for instance, will acknowledge. So if challenge is what you're looking for, it'll be in the post-game, like always. Apart from that, there will be player versus player battles both through local wireless and online multiplayer, with the online end of that requiring a Switch Online subscription, and the same is true from trades. And that's about all the relevant info we have available to us so far. If you are still all in on Pokemon Let's Go, you can purchase the regular Pikachu and Eevee editions for $60 US. If the Pokeball Plus interests you, you can pick up the game bundled with that accessory for $100 US, separately for $50 US, or in a Switch bundle with your version of choice, a Pokeball Plus, a custom Switch dock, and exclusive Joy-Con for $400 US. It's certainly not a perfect game. There are a fair amount of changes that could potentially be deal breakers for people, but I personally am more than okay with it. I mostly view it as another wrinkle in an already varied meta with different players that have different preferences. Also, if the alternative is no Pokemon until late 2019 when the full-fledged game is released, I much prefer having this stopgap available. But those are my thoughts. What do you think about Pokemon Let's Go leading into its launch? Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, I would much appreciate it if you would click the subscribe button and ring the bell for more videos like this every Tuesday and Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Also, we've recently started streaming every Wednesday, again, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. If you didn't know, we do a podcast every Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, and that's on a different channel, also linked in the description. If you would like to support the channel financially, you can click the join button. That will make content both more frequent and higher quality. But if you aren't willing or able to support us financially, you could always just join our Discord, use our affiliate links. That helps a ton too. But okay, that's it for me. See you next week.